as we've explored the evolution of mounted martial arts, from the nomadic herders and raiders to the games and races in the Roman Colosseum, and finally to the tournaments, carousels, and horse ballets of the 17th century, we've also followed a similar timeline in the development of the Iberian horse. This majestic breed, originating from the prehistoric refugia of Iberia, was highly sought after for its exceptional warhorse qualities, eventually earning a starring role in the renowned Spanish riding school. Our investigation into these topics has led us to the Renaissance, or for our purposes, a period spanning roughly from 1550 to 1650, where the convergence of various factors created a growing need for the study of equitation, marking the birth of academic equitation. The spark that ignited this movement was the presence of Spanish horses in Naples, following the Spanish expulsion of the French. Neapolitan horsemen were impressed by the collected balance and agility of the Iberian horses, which made them superior war horses. The Neapolitan war horses were larger and heavier and used in the lance-carrying labrida fashion. To develop the lightness and agility of the Iberian horses, they had to change the horse balance to more uphill. This sparked the development of exercises and methods to create collected horses, which in turn provided mounted warriors with greater mobility and agility. As the role of the warrior evolved into that of a courtier and artist who studied in the manage or riding school, the need for refined horsemanship skills became increasingly important. The fuel that sustained this fire of innovation was the immense wealth that flowed into the region. The famous artists of the period, such as Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Botticelli, and Raphael, required patrons with substantial wealth to support their work. The Italian states of Florence, Venice, and Genoa had become wealthy through trade with the East, and the Medici family, in particular, had innovated banking, which facilitated global trade and amassed enormous wealth. As a result, they became the largest patrons of the arts, extending their support to architecture, science, and even horsemanship. Naples, although less commercially dynamic, had significant agricultural vitality and controlled important Mediterranean trade routes, which contributed to its wealth. The Spanish, who controlled Naples, became part of the Habsburg Empire, and the wealth generated from the Americas after Columbus's discovery further enriched Spain and its trading partners. During the Renaissance, cities became hubs of culture, and their rulers sought to enhance their prestige by funding artistic and intellectual projects, including courtly traditions like jousting, pageantry, and equestrianism. The transformation of medieval feudal structures into centralized courts led to a competition among monarchs and nobles for prestige, which often focused on displays of wealth, culture, and refinement. Equestrian activities, including horsemanship, managed training, and elaborate tournaments, became central to courtly life, requiring significant funding for horses, stables, trainers, and equipment. The refinement of court etiquette and horsemanship mirrored the broader shift from medieval martial values to Renaissance ideals of civility, self-control, and intellectualism. Another significant factor that contributed to the Renaissance was the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. The Byzantine scholars, fearing the loss of their cultural heritage, fled to Italy, bringing with them scores of manuscripts from the classical period of Greece and Rome. The Byzantine Empire had preserved, copied, and studied the works of classical authors such as Plato, Aristotle, Homer, and Euclid, keeping alive the intellectual heritage of antiquity. The Renaissance emphasis on humanism and the study of nature marked a profound shift in European intellectual and cultural life, departing from the medieval worldview dominated by religious scholasticism and focusing on human potential, creativity, and the observable world. Among the classical writings that had been largely lost since the Greek classical period were the works of Xenophon, which were rediscovered during the Renaissance. His treatises, On Horsemanship and The Cavalry Commander, were admired for their insights into the care, training, and management of horses, as well as their emphasis on humane treatment. These texts were particularly relevant to Renaissance court culture, where horsemanship was a vital skill for nobles. Xenophon's approach, which emphasized understanding the horse's physical and mental needs, aligned with the Renaissance trend of viewing horsemanship as both an art and a science. Italian equestrian theorists such as Federico Grissone and Cesare Fiaschi, who wrote influential treatises on horsemanship in the 16th century, were likely influenced by Xenophon's approach. The invention of the printing press in the mid-15th century revolutionized the dissemination of knowledge, making it possible for ideas to spread rapidly across Europe. The nobility, who were becoming increasingly educated, could now access a wide range of texts, including those on horsemanship. Cosimo de' Medici, the head of the Medici family in Florence, funded the translation of Greek texts into Latin, and his support for scholars like Marsilio Ficino helped establish the Platonic Academy in Florence. The spread of ideas and knowledge through books played a significant role in the development of academic equitation, as authors and trainers could now share their expertise and methods with a broader audience. A big best-selling of the period was The Art of the Courtier by Baldassare Castiglione. He discussed all aspects of court life, insisting that all interactions displayed sprezzatura. This was particularly important in horsemanship. Every difficulty was removed through practice, so that displays of horsemanship demonstrated a nonchalance, an absence of strain. Humanism was the intellectual movement at the heart of the Renaissance, emphasizing the study of classical antiquity, Greek and Roman texts, to understand human nature, ethics, and the world. Humanists believed that humanity had the capacity to achieve greatness and sought to cultivate well-rounded individuals through education and intellectual inquiry. Humanists sought to rediscover and revive ancient texts in their original languages, Greek and Latin, focusing on authors like Plato, Aristotle, Cicero, and Xenophon. These texts were seen as a guide to understanding human behavior, politics, and morality. The motto of humanists, ad fontes, to the sources, emphasized the importance of returning to the original works of antiquity rather than relying on medieval interpretations or commentaries. Humanists celebrated the inherent dignity of humanity and the potential for individual achievement. Thinkers declared that humans have the unique ability to shape their own destinies and rise to the divine through intellect and creativity. This belief inspired advancements in art, literature, science, and philosophy, as individuals sought to push the boundaries of human knowledge and skill. This fusion of intellectual curiosity, artistic innovation, and scientific exploration reshaped the way humanity understood itself and its place in the universe. The period was marked by numerous wars between city-states. There was an invasion from France, which also fueled competition between individuals and states. In troubled times, rulers needed money, military might, and masterpieces, artistic and equine as propaganda. Tournaments, carousels, and other public displays of horsemanship became opportunities for noble families and city-states to compete for prestige, showcasing not only the skill of riders, but also the quality of their horses. The Gonzaga family of Mantua, for example, bred some of the finest horses in Europe, using their equestrian prowess to elevate their status among rival states. In Florence, the Medici incorporated equestrian parades and jousts into public festivals, blending artistic pageantry with displays of martial skill, all choreographed displaying grace and sprezzatura. Horsemanship, or the art of riding, training, and displaying mastery over horses, was a key arena for competition between individuals and states. It was not merely a practical skill for war or travel, but a refined art form that symbolized noble excellence, self-discipline, and control. The demonstration of calm control over horses, displaying sprezzatura, was a major propaganda tool, applied to all aspects of noble life, from conversation to dress, but particularly evident in horsemanship. In Renaissance courts, performing horsemanship with sprezzatura became a way to display personal and familial prestige, as horses were expensive to breed, train, and maintain, making them symbols of wealth and power. In conclusion, the Renaissance was a time of great cultural and artistic transformation, marked by the convergence of all the various factors we have mentioned. The development of academic equitation, with its emphasis on refined horsemanship and the cultivation of sprezzatura, was an aspect of this transformation, reflecting the broader shift from medieval martial values to Renaissance ideals of civility, self-control, and intellectualism. As we continue to explore the history of academic equitation, we will delve deeper into the ways in which this art form evolved and influenced the culture of the Renaissance and beyond.